excited to introduce you to my friend Cameron Herold, who is the founder of the COO Alliance, who's recently released a book about the 2IC role, and who's here today to share with us some of the, let me get the topic right, how to grow your people, how growing your people grows your company. So Cameron, I'm going to go ahead and stop my slide share. I'm going to turn the sharing over to you and ask you to go ahead and grab the microphone.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer. And thank you, everybody, for showing up to continue to grow yourselves. Before I kind of dive into the content, and I've got about 15 minutes to share, I also usually love to be able to do some Q&A, but we're not going to have time to do Q&A today. So if you have a question right after this event, if you drop your questions to me as an email, I will do a quick wrap-up video of all of your questions with a Q&A, and I'll do a kind of compilation Q&A video back to all of you, and then Jennifer and the team can circulate that as a way to get your questions answered. Second part is, I'm one of you. I have played the second-in-command role 3 different times. Most notably, I was the second-in-command or the integrator for a company called 1-800-GOT-JUNK. So just really quickly, drop in the chat if you've ever heard of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, or put your hand up if you've heard of 1-800-GOT-JUNK. Okay, all of you. Pretty good. Awesome. When I joined them as the integrator, I was employee number 14. When I left the company 6.5 years later, we had 3,100 employees system-wide. I'd grown the company as the COO from 2 million to 106 million in revenue. And what I'm going to walk you through today is the core way that I've done that. And it's not covered in any of my 6 books. Even the newest book that I just launched 2 weeks ago yesterday, called The Second in Command. This is really a book for us and for our visionaries. It's not even in that book. So what I'm going to talk about is really the kind of secrets, the secret sauce as to what I did to grow, not just 1-800-GOT-JUNK, but also College Pro Painters that I opened the West Coast of the US for, and then Gerber Auto Collision that I was the second in command for as well, which is now a $2 billion largest collision repair chain in North America. Quick show of hands if you can see my screen, and then I'll dive right into the content. Okay, you can see it? Good, we're good to go. So this is what I call the 2 ladders approach to business, or the 2 ladders approach to growing our companies. And my belief is the more that we invest in our leaders, the more that they can grow our company. So it's great that CEOs join groups like Vistage and YPO and EO and the Genius Network and Mastermind Talks and all the amazing events for CEOs. And then it's even great that we have places like the Integrator Communities or the COO Alliance, or places for us to grow. But where are the rest of our employees growing? Where are we growing our managers that report to us? Because the more we grow their skills, the more they scale a company. I believe that we all overcomplicate business. We would never send our kid off to play Little League baseball without teaching him how to hold the bat, or how to catch the ball, or how to toss the ball. Because if we didn't give them the basic skills, they'd come home from baseball practice the first day and they'd say, "Daddy or Mommy, baseball sucks." And it's like, "No, Johnny, you suck at baseball." Well, the reality is business is actually extraordinarily easy. We make it difficult because we don't give our managers and our leadership teams the core basic skills to actually scale the company. And I'll give you some examples of where this is so and how you can actually make your business much simpler. I was actually groomed to be an entrepreneur. This is my father about a week before he passed away in September. My dad was an entrepreneur. Both of my grandparents were entrepreneurs. They grew my brother and my sister and myself to all be entrepreneurs. Strangely, I played that hybrid role of being both an entrepreneur and also the COO type. But the skills that he gave me were matching the DNA that I also had to be the entrepreneurial type COO. The skills are something that I still carry with me today. I got my kind of Real World MBA at this company here, College Pro Painters. If you've ever heard of College Pro Painters, it became the world's largest residential house painting company. Every year, we had to go out and recruit 800 university students to become franchisees. So we had to hire them, train them to become their own business owners. And then in 1 month, those 800 franchisees had to hire 8,000 students to paint houses. And we had to train 8,000 kids to paint houses. Between May 1st and August 31st, we painted $64 million in houses. September 1st, all 8,800 kids quit and went back to university. We all got drunk at the head office. We woke up September 2nd and we did it again. So imagine building a company where you had to hire 8,800 people every year and train them. I was in the top 30 people in that company globally. Kimball Musk, Elon's brother, I hired him, trained him, and coached him back in 1993. I was a reference for Elon in his first round of funding in January of 1995 when he had one employee for the company prior to PayPal. It was called Zip2. And then Peter Reeve, who went on to build Solar City, was another employee of mine. I trained both of them in the skills I'm going to be walking you through today. I also joined mastermind communities. I've been involved in the Genius Network, the Entrepreneurs Organization, Strategic Coach, Baby Bathwater, Mastermind Talks. I'm at an event right now called the Archangel Academy in San Diego. I've invested huge amounts of money in my skills and in my network, which is why you want to participate in these communities here. But where are we getting our employees and our managers? Where are we kind of putting them into their own communities as well? Because of the Entrepreneurs Organization, because of being in a community like you're in, this is where I actually met Brian, the founder of 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and I became his COO. I visualized my role at 1-800-GOT-JUNK as almost like a gardener. My role was to grow people. My role every day was not to do work. It was to delegate more work to the people and then grow their skill set so they could actually do the work for me. And I realized that the more work that I was doing, the slower the company's scale was going to be. So the reason we were able to actually double the revenue in the company 6 consecutive years in a row, right? From 2 million to 106 million with no debt, giving up no equity, ranking as the #2 company in all of Canada to work for, was because of our obsession around growing people. And if we didn't grow people, we would have been firing them too quickly because the growth would have been outpacing their skill set as well. So we really had to focus on growing people. So I've always visualized all of my employees like they're climbing up 2 ladders, almost like their left hand and their left foot is climbing up the skills ladder. And right beside it, their right hand and right foot is climbing up the confidence ladder. And my job is to grow their skills so they can grow their confidence, which grows their skills, which grows their confidence, which allows them to take on more work, and I can grow their skills, which gives them more confidence. It's almost like I flipped the org chart upside down with the visionary and the integrator at the bottom of the org chart, supporting the managers who are supporting the employees, who are supporting the customers, and everyone can see the vivid vision of where we're going, and we build the company inside of our core purpose and our core values. So instead of telling people what to do and holding them accountable, I literally flip the org chart upside down, and my role is to grow their skills and grow their confidence. I also believe that people can always grow. Now, you can't see this online here. It looks like I'm quite short. I'm actually 6'4". The person I'm standing beside, Mark Eaton, is 7'4". So no matter how strong your employees are, they can always grow. This is always a funny photo for me because I literally am the tallest person at this conference today at 6'4". And I look like a midget standing next to this guy. No matter how strong your managers are in your company today, you can still grow their skills. We have to get our employees and our leaders to wrap their minds around the fact that if they're green, they're growing. If they're ripe, they're dead. And the only reason that we want to grow their skills as managers and leaders is not because we're worried about them. We don't want to grow their skills because they're broken. If we were worried about them or they were broken, we would fire them. We want to invest in them when we want to grow their skills because we believe in them and we want them to keep pace with the company, and we don't want to have to replace them as the company grows. My belief is that employees can only go through 2 doubles in the size of the company before the company has outgrown their skill set. So if you're a director of marketing of a $5 million company, you can stay director of marketing as a $10 million company. You can probably get the company as a director of marketing to 20 million, but it's impossible for you to take it to 40 million unless you've drastically increased your skill set, because the size and the scope of the operation, your P&L responsibility, the level of strategic thinking you need to bring to the business, the level of leadership competency you need to have has to have scaled, and it probably hasn't. So that's why I'm so kind of manic and maniacal around this whole idea of growing your people grows your business. So the question becomes, what level of training program do we need to bring into our company? And I think it's about minimum viable everything, right? We've heard of the term minimum viable product. I don't think we need a gold perfect level training program. We just need one that's good enough. Jennifer mentioned different operating systems. Like we've got Traction and Scaling Up and 3Hagway and Pinnacle and Next Level Growth, all these great operating systems out there. Just pick one. I don't care which one it is. It doesn't even have to be perfect. Just use parts of it. The key is that momentum will give you momentum. Well, we also need to have some kind of a training program in our company to grow our people. And none of those programs, whether it's Traction or Scaling Up, right, none of those grow the skill sets of people. Those are operating systems for your business to scale off of. But what I'm going to talk about are the skills that our employees need to be better in their day-to-day jobs. So Simon Sinek talked to us about starting with why. Simon was actually on my board of advisors 5 years before he wrote his book, Start With Why, 5 years before he did his famous TEDx talk. Simon flew out to Vancouver to meet Brian and I in 2004 after reading about us in Fortune magazine, in the actual magazine itself. And Simon became a part of our board, was an advisor, worked with us on our marketing and our branding. What I want is for all of us to train our employees on our why, our core purpose, your core values, your BHAG, your vivid vision, the history of the company, the DNA of what got you to where you are. Every employee needs to know that. And it's the visionary's job to teach that, capture it on video so that you can literally have each employee rewatch that video that should be about a half an hour video about the areas of core purpose and core values and BHAG and vivid vision, all of the crazy stories that got you to where you are. Indoctrinate them in that cult. One of the very first things I did at 1-800-GOT-JUNK is I said we had to become slightly more than a business and slightly less than a religion. We had to get into this zone of a cult. And that culture is what scales the company, but you have to train people in that and have them rewatch that video every 3 to 6 months to keep them indoctrinated and keep stirring the Kool-Aid. Most of us as companies are really good at training on the how. Some of the how would be training them on the actual systems, like the Pinnacle operating systems or the Traction operating systems or the Scaling Up operating systems, or how to use our software, or how to do better marketing. Those are the hows. Great. Sorry, those are the whats. That's what we train them on, is the whats. What I focus on is the how, the middle ring, and most companies miss on the how. So the how part is how we actually show up as leaders. And this is what I believe are the 12 core skills. You can screenshot this if you want to. This is what I believe are the 12 core skills that every manager and every leader needs to be really good at to actually excel in their role. So things like situational leadership, coaching, classroom training, running effective meetings, one-on-one coaching, time management, interviewing, delegation, conflict management. These are the core skills. And I'll give you an example. Just by a quick show of hands, how many of you on this call right now have ever had at least an hour's training on how to do proper, solid, strong job interviews? Put your hand up if you've ever really been trained on how to do interviews. Now, how many of you have interviewed people? Right? All of you. So it's interesting that all of us have hired people, but most of us have never really had the training on how to do interviews. Or how many of us have actually had a lot of training on how to run effective meetings? Right? A couple, but we run phone meetings and Zoom meetings and in-person meetings all the time. The problem is that most of our managers have never actually been trained in these skills, and yet they're showing up every day, kind of like the kids showing up at Little League Baseball without the basics to actually do the job. So we can choose messy, right? We can choose kind of an unorganized style, or we can actually understand how adults really learn, and we can plug a training system into our company to grow them. If you're going to build your own internal training program, on the bottom left-hand side, it talks about the 3 styles of learning. Every adult learns in one of 3 of these core ways as their primary style, but they also learn in the 2 other styles. My core learning style is visual, so I learn by watching and by reading. But I also learn a little bit from listening, a little bit from speaking, and a little bit from doing. Now, my son mostly is a kinesthetic learner. He almost learns completely from doing, but he learns a little bit from watching and a little bit from listening as well. So whatever training program you build, make sure that you incorporate all 3 of those into your training program. Otherwise, you're missing the point. If you've got highly visual people on your team and it's a very auditory style, or you have them all reading a book, they're not going to learn unless you cover the 3 styles. The second thing you have to think about if you're building your own training programs internally is make sure that you cover what's on the top right-hand corner. You go through a cycle of learning. You start with learning a concept, the abstract conceptualization. And then you learn from practicing, from trying it out, from role playing. That's the active experimentation. And then you drop down to the bottom of the cycle where you learn from actually doing, right? The concrete experience. And then you start thinking about what you were learning, thinking about the concepts, thinking about your practicing, and that's the reflective observation. So you go through this cycle over and over again. If I was training you on interviewing, I would have you read a book and watch a video and write some information and some tests and practice it and try it out. Maybe get a consultant, try it out in your day-to-day job, maybe video you doing job interviews that we can review together. And then I'd have you read another book on interviewing and listen to another consultant. I'd go through the cycle 2 or 3 times over the course of a year to really get you to understand the skill sets. I've had at least 100 hours training with coaches, consultants, role-playing, practicing, video reviews, just of me actually being certified in interviewing itself. But that's how College Pro painters could actually recruit, hire, and train 8,000 to 800 people in a very predictable way every single year. We had to become operationally world-class at these skills. I also believe that all of our companies, whether we build our own training program internally or whether we plug our employees into somebody's training program, we should allocate 1% of their salary or a minimum of $750 per person every year to grow their skills. So if you've got a $100,000 employee, invest $1,000 a year at minimum in growing their skills. Now, you can get one consultant to come in for $1,000 for an hour and train 10 people. You've only spent $100 of their $1,000 budget. You could get a $1,000 speaker every month and train people in groups. But that's a minimum that you should be actually investing in growing your people. So I had somebody the other day say, well, what if I invest in my people and I grow their skills and they quit? Well, my question is, what if you don't invest in them and they stay, right? What if you don't give them the basic skills to be managers and leaders and they keep showing up in your company every day? How dangerous is that to your company and how frustrating is that? So one of the things that I did 2 years ago is I launched a course called Invest in Your Leaders. If you write down this promo code, it's Cameron H, CAMERONH, and then 10. That'll give you and all of your employees 10% off this course. This Invest in Your Leaders course is covering all of those 12 topics that I believe are the core skills. It's an easy way for you to plug them in and grow them, or you can build out something like this internally on your own. The resources are there online to find videos and books and things to plug them into. I set this up with a 30-day money-back guarantee that when you plug your employees in, if they hate it, they don't like it, we give you your money back. But that's an easy path for you to actually grow them as well. As Jennifer mentioned, my newest book just came out. It's actually for us and for our visionaries to understand us. It's called The Second in Command. It's already getting rave reviews globally. We've got about 137 5-star reviews in the last 12 days since it launched. I'd love for you to actually pick that up and let me know what you think. We don't have time for Q&A, as Jennifer mentioned, but if you send me that email, Cameron@CameronHerold.com, I'll do a summary wrap email video back to all of you. Those are my other books if you want those as well. Thanks very much for having me. Hope that's helpful. And I love that you're all part of this community.
Thank you, Cameron. That was really helpful. And I'm going to have that side-by-side ladder visual in my mind every day about confidence skills. That was brilliant. I appreciate that. You shared a lot in just 15 minutes. So thank you so much. We're excited to have our community and your community as instruments in helping to build second in command leaders.